This week on Feel Good Friday, are you missing the cremated remains of a loved one? Another reason why you don't fuck with MRI machines. Kidney stones are coming for your children. Peeing in the shower isn't all that it's cracked up to be. And we get some feedback about asexuality.
Really popped that last one.
I know, I got excited and could tell I was running out of time.
Oh, guys, I am excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, we missed you last week, Brad.
Lots on cremation, eh? Lots on remains.
Yeah.
Just like in general. Like,
Yeah.
things that are happening with remains.
Do you mean in this particular episode? Or just
Lately.
In our show in general.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What else did we talk about remains recently?
We talked about the guy at the Harvard morgue who was
Oh yeah.
stealing faces and stuff.
Yeah, I guess this is a little bit different. It's definitely not as
Grotesque.
as evil. But there's definitely an issue here. Don't it? You want to give me that? Thanks. The USPS,
Wow, one of my favorite cycling teams of all time.
the United States Postal Service.
That's right.
I didn't actually know this. So the USPS is the only legal way for people to ship cremated remains. So you couldn't do it through Amazon.
Hmm.
You couldn't do it through.
That makes sense to me.
DHL, Purolator,
Yeah,
FedEx.
It's only the USPS.
Brian knows his fucking logistics services.
I do, yeah.
He really does.
I love, couriers.
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan.
How do you feel about Kai now?
What's that? I don't know what that is, but I know what T-Force Distribution and Logistics is, the last mile distribution and logistics service
Right.
here in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Kai now is Alibaba's distribution service.
This is riveting.
Well,
I
one
mean,
thing
this
I'll
is
tell
what
you
our-
is
this is
that
what our
they
podcast is all about.
is that
Logistics
they
services.
aren't allowed to ship cremated.
And it makes
remains.
sense to me because the U.S. Postal Service is a federally regulated government agency. And I imagine that there are regulations federally that limit, that basically say like, well, if you're going to be able to have to ship this, it's going to have to go through a government body. And so then that's why you get the USPS that is able to, that's my assumption. I bet it's the correct one.
Sweet. All right. So what was the next thing we were going to talk about on today's
Yeah,
episode?
because like fucking we zoom right through it because I nailed it already. I wasn't joking about the cycling team. Lance Armstrong used to ride for U.S. Postal Service, and I have a 2001 bike frame that has U.S. Postal Service decals all over it.
That's really sweet.
Well, I was going to say how the USPS has currently, right now, as we record this, 452 wayward cremated bodies.
Oh God, that seems like way too many. Even though the U.S. Postal Service is a gigantic organization that is, even though I'm a logistics expert, I don't know how many packages are flying around the country at any given time. But
Wait, Jared, do you mean 400? Do you say 475?
452.
452. Do you mean 452 packages of cremated remains are currently in real time lost right now?
Yes. Now, here's the thing.
that's a lot.
I get it. USPS has to be the ones to do it legally because we all know that if we had, I'm not going to name it, but like, let's say a company that rhymes with Schmamazon and they're delivering packages, you don't want your dead grandma to show up this way at your house, where the guy shows up and just fucking tosses it. And then you got to toss it back and go, you fucking serious? And then the guy gets out and goes, well, your Nana's here.
Dude,
Take Nana back.
So funny. This is amazing.
So
That's
of course,
not real.
so of course, for people that are just listening, we just watched a video of a delivery service rhymes maybe with like
Allegedly.
Schmamazon, just tossing a package onto someone's deck while they were there. So the USPS has 452 packages filled with the cremated remains of individuals, and it can't identify them, including one that's been there for more than 8 years, according to a report by the USPS Office of Inspector General. So like I said, they're the only legal way to ship cremated remains. And at least in theory, the USPS has very strict procedures for handling such sensitive and irreplaceable packages. Remains must be shipped via Priority Mail Express. That's a cash grab. But,
Yeah,
yeah.
I never go for tracking or insurance.
And they have a giant orange sticker attached to the side of the box. The sticker used to be teal, just FYI. So maybe that's where it went wrong. They switched the color. Not enough fucking info went down through the chain of command. And so, these fucking ding dongs here driving up, they're like, that's just an orange sticker.
These are big organizations, guys, and honestly, I feel like big corporations get a bad rap.
So they're also supposed to be handled differently than other Priority Mail Express packages. They're actually supposed to be handled like this. Here's another video of a guy delivering a grandma.
For those of you just listening, we watched the same video 3 times in a row.
it's just an Amazon driver and a recipient just throwing a package back and
Playing
forth at each
catch.
other.
Honestly, I'm building a PC right now, and I just ordered a bunch of parts, and one of my parts came like it was that was.
Oh,
done to
really?
it.
Like
Yeah.
somebody had
Oh,
played
no.
It
soccer
came
with
in
it.
pieces in the box, and
How
I just
funny-
had to send it back.
How funny would it be if you were waiting for your graphics card and you ended up getting a package from USPS and it was just a bunch of ashes?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a good story.
It would
Ryan,
be.
how hard is it for you to mention your computer without telling us all the details about your computer?
Super hard.
Very
actually.
similar to when Brian started doing CrossFit.
I have guys. I have dreams at night that in those dreams I tell you about my
See?
computer or
Case in
AI
point.
or anything like that,
And we care. in
and
the
you're
dream.
actually
Yeah, yeah,
interested,
yeah.
and it's amazing.
So the report that the USPS did, however, found that some or all of these procedures are not done between 28 and 50% of the time. That's a big percentage. What I mean by that is the giant orange sticker, the remains being shipped particularly through Priority Express. And so this could go some way towards explaining how, like I said, 452 cremated remains ended up in a USPS warehouse for lost packages. And according to the report, as of February 27, 2023, the MRC, Mail Recovery Center, has, again, 452 undeliverable and or unidentifiable cremated remain packages. And the oldest one's been there since February 24th, 2015.
Wow. I mean, I guess
Which is kind of interesting. Like, don't you think that if you were okay, I'm waiting for a package right now. I bought a suit for a wedding. I'm waiting for the package. And yesterday they were like, we made an attempt to deliver your package, but and so we just left a slip. But there was no slip, right? I looked, I was like, oh, there was no attempt. So my next thing is, well, I need this suit for the wedding. I'm going to call Canada Post and figure out where the fuck my package is. You would think that, like, if you were expecting a package, say, of
such
your
importance.
dead father that was sent from, I don't know, a funeral home like in Fort Lauderdale,
See,
and
that's
you
my
live
question.
you live in Colorado and it doesn't arrive, don't you think you'd be calling people up to go?
Totally, but that's my question: who's sending dead remains?
I would
Because
s-
like
I
that,
would say funeral homes. It would be
But
my guess.
Yeah,
But-
I think it's probably. I don't think there's much reason to think that that's not a common thing.
No, okay, but my thought is I agree with you, Jer. Like if you
Follow
are waiting for a package of your like dead loved one's cremated remains, you would follow up. So my thoughts is that like those packages that are missing are like these different sort of cases of like, I'm gonna portion up my dad's ashes and send part of them to my brother. Like he lives across the country, so like I'm gonna send them to him over there, and I send them to him, but like we're estranged, so like we don't really talk. So like I put them in the mail, we're not communicating, and then like maybe he doesn't follow up because he doesn't even know I sent them.
Right. Or it's the case
That's a
of,
very
It's a
specific.
very
story.
specific example.
that's very specific.
and not true, but
Also, how's your dad? I mean, I didn't even know. Or it's a case of, how many times, I mean, I found this happen during COVID a lot. Prior to COVID, I really wasn't one to like actively be ordering things online. When COVID hit, I found I was doing it way more.
Dude,
how
that's-
satisfying
it's
is
a-
it
dude,
waiting for a
It's
package?
a
Right?
national pastime.
Right. Now, here's the thing. When it became more routine to be regularly expecting something to come in the mail, there was a couple of times where like maybe something was delayed or hadn't come in and I completely forgot about it. thank goodness for like the Shop app. You know,
Dude,
where I can like
Shop app
Shop app rocks.
right?
rips.
So I wonder, like, what if someone's listening to this right now and we're talking about this story and they're like, oh my God, February 24th, 2015, I was supposed to receive my Nana in a box. And I'm just realizing right now, I never fucking got it. So if that's you,
That would be crazy.
you could call the USPS and they're going to tell you,
we can't
Sorry.
identify.
unless you want to come down to this warehouse that we have apparently that just fucking full of boxes of dead bodies that have been burned to a crisp. You're going to have to come down here and you're going to have to open every one and you're going to have to like do the
Smell
thing that you
test?
do with cocaine where like you dip your finger in, you rub it on your gums to see if it's like Nana or not, you know?
No,
How
what
do you identify this? Is like,
I'll tell you how.
can
I
you
don't know.
genetically?
No, so you take your hand
identify?
and you do what Jer did with Bigby's ashes is you reach into it and you let the ashes
Sift.
sort of sift
Sift.
through your
Yes.
fingertips until you feel a piece of metal that is grandma's hip replacement.
Right.
Right.
And then you go, that's the same
That's gotta
hardware
be
that they
it's
use.
gotta be my
for her."
grandma.
and
Yeah.
that's the process. And then what we're left with at the end is a whole bunch of people who died who never had surgery that required screws and metal.
Well,
Yeah.
at that point, that's where you're going to have to snort them to
Yeah.
figure it out.
That's right.
Uh,
What an interesting conundrum.
So while rare, they say while rare, it is not unheard of for packages containing remains like any other package to be just delayed or lost. Sometimes the result of illegible writing or non-existent delivery addresses. Other times packages end up there entirely by mistake. Packages sent to the MRC are held for 60 days if it has a barcode, then scanned to determine if the contents have a value greater than $25. So if so, they're auctioned off to the GovDeals website in lots. Otherwise, it donates items, recycles them, or trashes them. How often do you think?
Wow, imagine how many grannies worth sub 25 were just discarded.
How do you,
how do you value your grandma?
what's the value of like, you know?
I mean,
I guess I suppose it depends on what that hip replacement was made of.
You know what? Total aside, kind of off topic, but actually in a real actually like super interesting way. There's a movie. It was like just okay. Michael Keaton, I believe it was Michael Keaton, is a lawyer at a law firm right after he's a lawyer at a law firm, like a partner at a law firm.
Oh yeah, Beetlejuice. I love this movie.
Yeah, and I think it's called Value of Life, and I believe that's what it's called. And he's working at a law firm in New York City. 9/11 happens, and then his law
What's
firm.
that? What's 9/11?
Shut up. And then he is
Oops, I forgot.
his law firm is contracted by the government to determine the payout value to all the families that were like affected, like had a loved one who died in one of the planes or in one of the buildings at one of the Trade Center buildings. And it's just like a really crazy like roller coaster of like this horrible event that happens and this like huge death toll and emotional toll on everybody, like far reaching, like well beyond just the people that like died, and going, what do the airlines or like insurance companies, like what is owed to you in a monetary value? How do we place like a monetary value on life?
okay.
It's actually, although it was just an okay movie, the premise was pretty incredible.
So my question
and it was
is
a real story.
for you guys, like if you were showed up at the post office and you have a box of ashes and you go to mail them and you're filling out like whatever forms you have to fill out there, or filling in the address and information to be able to send that, and you get to that line item that's like value of goods or value of whatever's in the package.
Priceless.
What do you?
It's a
What do you?
MasterCard commercial.
What would you? What would you fill in if you were sitting there like, filling that in?
Well, there's a podcast that I listen to that if you are at all familiar with like horror or true crime, you've most certainly heard of it. It's called The Last Podcast on the Left. And they do an episode every Wednesday called Side Stories, where it's basically it's their version of FGF. So it's two of the three hosts, and they're just kind of talking about the weird and wacky news under the sphere of like true crime. And one thing that they've covered, I mean, countless times over the last few years of them doing this segment, is people who hire out hitmen to kill their arch nemesis or their partner or their coworker, colleague or something.
Nemesis.
And the sort of running like joke is like these fucking ding dongs, every single one of them, hires a hitman and gets caught. Obviously,
the hitman's a cop because hitmen actually don't exist. They're all police officers.
Right. So, but here's the thing: these people are hiring people to kill their loved one, and when it comes down to the price of what it costs to kill someone, more often than not, the people who are applying for a hitman and the hitman's like, "Yeah, I'll do it for $7,000." Those are the hitmen that are likely going to end up getting you put in jail because $7,000 is not.
So you're saying
that's not enough.
You're
so
saying
what
the
I'm
price
saying,
you pay determines whether or not you're going to go to jail.
Yeah, you get what you pay
right.
for.
And so what I'm saying is, if you get a hitman that's like, "Yeah, I'll do it for $80,000," well, then you probably found a legit hitman.
Yeah.
So
you buy cheap, you buy twice.
To that,
or you go to jail.
To that point, a box of a dead person's ashes, I think you got to scale it up the same way that you would be looking to hire a hitman.
But what do you put?
$50,000 to $80,000 minimum.
What do you put? What do you actually
but then
write
you gotta
on that
charge.
box?
But then you got to pay for the insurance on that, and that's that's not mailbox.
What do you, Taylor? What are you putting in that field?
I put $80,000.
You put $80,000 in the for the ashes.
If it was Kira, I'd put $180,000. If it was Donut, I'd put
this is on record
$50,000.
Okay.
If it was one of you guys.
Wait, I mean
$7,000.
Oh, come on. We're tied. Our
I want to see what happens.
Tied up in business.
I want to see
business has a value.
but I want to see what happens to it.
Taylor,
if it's you
what do
guys,
you
I'm like,
put? What do
let's
you
just
put?
see where it goes.
I mean, really, I think if it was like required field, like you can't send this unless you fill this out, I would put priceless.
I'd put $0.
Like a Price is Right type approach.
but
I mean, I think your choice is the most logical because it's a box of chalk.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that like for mailing purposes, it doesn't mean that you're valuing your loved one's life and those memories.
$0 / emotionally priceless.
Yeah, right. Sure. You can put that as a caveat.
Yeah.
Asterisk.
Okay.
But do you think if you put $80,000, it's going to be handled with more care? Or it's just likely to end up getting stolen?
Nothing gets handled with more care unless, like something that I have done in the past, is you tape a little note onto the side of the package, or in my case, a bike bag, and you say, "Dear anybody who's handling this, this really means a lot to me. I would appreciate the utmost care, and you are really taking care of my emotional, mental, and physical well-being if you take care of this thing in a really great way." And I appreciate your understanding.
No, that's a gamble, dude, because you're gambling with the fact that you think that somebody might be emotionally touched by that letter, but the people who are like overworked and are just fucking pissed and they're like, "You don't think I'm doing my job well enough?
Yeah.
Fuck you." And they just smash your bike.
Have you guys seen this?
Interesting.
This video here? This guy just throws the box.
The problem with this guy is you didn't put the note on the box.
This guy throws the box back.
This is the fourth time we've watched it.
If he had put the note on the box, that driver would have said, I'm going to put this. I'm going to place this with care on your porch.
I am curious. Like it is. I didn't think about this till right now, but we
have spent 20 minutes.
It's fucking great
on this.
This is
it's
great.
actually wild.
This is great. Because I don't have anything else prepped. How many times? So this will be hard because you already have the info. But let's say I started this whole segment off by saying, if you were to hazard a guess, how many boxes of cremated remains do you think the USPS has in a warehouse that have gone undelivered?
Yeah, 452.
What would have been your sort of your guess if I was just to like throw that out there?
I think I would have said like 10,000.
Yeah, I would have said something way higher.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I probably would have gone higher. I mean, I guess it depends. Like at first I thought you meant like in real time, this is how much we have like currently, but it's like it's a rolling number.
Yeah. I mean, this is like since 2015.
Yeah. So that's quite low.
So, okay.
Honestly.
Then, and we're not going to go anywhere. This is just how we're going to end this segment.
Okay.
How many porch pirates do you think have accidentally stolen a box of cremated remains?
I mean,
37.
Yeah. I think that's, yeah. I think Brian's bang on.
Since 2015, February 2015.
Oh no, I was going since 2000, but so yeah, 6.
6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's decreasing.
Sure.
Now, what do
Yeah.
you think the reactions are to the porch pirate who opens that?
Should we
Well,
act?
I
it
mean,
out?
like if
Roleplay them?
it's a package that Mark Rober put together, you know what happened.
You
They
got
opened that
glitter
box and they
bombs.
just got fucking blasted in the face with like the entire box of ashes.
Shards of
spray.
glass.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's move on.
I have one question.
Sure.
Just before we move on.
So fucking
Considering that guy's YouTube channel, I've seen it, but
That
what's his
guy.
name? Mark Rober.
Yeah.
Rober?
For people who don't know, Mark Rober is a famous YouTuber, former NASA engineer, and he does this annual video every year. It's fucking amazing, but it's this annual video where they basically set up these boxes to be stolen by porch pirates, but the boxes they sort of kit them out to be these unbelievably
traps.
awful booby traps that cover your entire wherever the box is opened. Everything in a 400 square foot radius is going to be covered in glitter. The whole area is sprayed with stink fart bombs. It starts to screech this like siren that it's going to self destruct. It is, and the whole thing is just rigged with cameras, so you just see the reactions of these really sad people that are resorting to stealing.
It's incredibly
Now-
satisfying to
now-
watch.
It
Though.
really is,
Okay,
though.
so notwithstanding the major not worth it risk of putting something dangerous in a box and like having it be mishandled by a totally innocent person, but let's assume that you could do that and put something in a box like shards of glass or whatever, and you pulled off one of these rigs and somebody stole it and then it exploded in their face with a bunch of shards of glass and fucking took their eyes out and all sorts of gnarly shit. Are you in trouble?
I don't know.
You as the person who set up the booby trap?
Yeah.
I mean, if
I
it
think
hurts
it-
the person you are,
I think it comes
Is
down
it?
to intent.
I think so.
Because if your intent was for it to be stolen and that could be proven, then you were intending to cause harm.
yeah.
Okay,
If
yep.
they,
I had this
if-
thought the other day.
I hear
Yeah.
that.
Someone broke into my car and rummaged through it and left a huge mess. And I remember thinking, man, what if I just like set my car up so that the next time someone rummaged through it like that,
It
they
just explodes.
yeah. I was like, there was just a fucking small stick of TNT that just blew their hands off. And then I thought, well, I guess I'd get in trouble if that happened.
Yeah. I mean, plus people
yeah,
who are
maybe.
resorting to that, like my thoughts is if they're gonna break into my car and steal $5 or $10, then they need it that bad.
No,
then
but
they can have it.
here's my problem with that.
Brian thinks that they have trauma. And
There were
he gets it.
Think that.
there
I
was-
know that.
There were 7 loonies and not a single loony was touched.
That's not enough money. You need to give them more. You should put bills.
Yeah, you should
Yeah,
leave
bills laced with arsenic. Is that now we're talking?
Did they take anything?
No, they didn't take anything.
I just wanted to make a mess in your
I just wanted to fuck my shit up.
That's why I leave my car door open so that it's like, yo, fucking rummage around in the nothingness that isn't worth nothing, and don't break my window.
Well,
That's all.
yeah. So now I just leave all 4 doors open.
Right, that makes sense.
Let's move on. A while back, we talked about a person who was getting an MRI, and they had, I believe, a gun, and the gun went off because MRI machines are
Magnets.
magnets, and they're magnets that are like thousands of times stronger than a fridge magnet.
Everybody knows magnets pull triggers.
And so here's another story of a patient who received major injuries after mistakenly wearing something
I saw this.
while they went to go get an MRI scan.
A fucking
This-
glass butt plug.
Now here
Not a
is-
Wait,
glass
it's not
one.
glass, a metal butt plug.
Let's
obviously,
Not
yeah.
even. Well,
well, before we get into the story,
It's a butt plug though.
this is what I bet this sounded like. Okay,
It's it's way too obviously a butt plug. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
this is what I believe that MRI sounded like. Okay, listen carefully. This is the sound of the MRI. Okay, and then
did you make that entire
Yeah.
sound? Just
yeah, I made
that. Yeah, that's really
That is what it
accurate.
sounds.
So, or was that just the audio from the video of it
one
happening?
unfortunate patient found out the hard way why you shouldn't wear metal during an MRI after a butt plug they were using shot through their body.
Whoa.
Now-
wait, like not out of their butt, but
Well,
up.
now, okay, so I'm going to put this out there. This is very similar to there's been a couple stories that I brought to the podcast that I was excited to hear when I read the story. Not excited because they're all awful. So not excited because it happened to a person, but then I do some research and I find, it's actually not true. This isn't necessarily not true. I just had a hard time actually confirming whether or not it is true.
We
but
Snopes'd it.
We did. According to a post on Twitter, it shows the scan of a butt plug that caused, quote, major injuries lodged high up in someone's body as a result of an MRI scan that went viral, undoubtedly making many people clench in the process. Here is a photo that went with the Twitter
Oh my God.
post. So if people are just listening, we're looking at an MRI image of someone's abdominal cavity.
It's funny they didn't have to get another MRI.
And the butt yeah, no,
Just
this
like-
came from this MRI.
It's like they needed an MRI anyway.
So this
It would be funny if it had like motion blur on it. Like you could kind of
Yeah, you
see the movement,
see
path
the
it
process.
traveled.
So what we're looking at is like someone's body from their, I would say their like the breasts down to the pelvis. And so you're getting all the internal organs. And the butt plug looks like it's just underneath
The
the
lungs?
spleen or the lungs or something. Either way, for it to go from the asshole to that spot means that they pretty much got Mr. Handsed.
Right, like it would have had to like it didn't like slither its way up.
Oh no.
It went through the colon. It like burst through the colon.
In the post by a Twitter user at Bradius0, he explained why you should, quote, never wear a butt plug to your MRI appointment and shared the image that I just showed you. Alongside the image, a separate text message read, greatest personal injury case I ever heard. An esteemed Valley attorney has picked up a client who is suing a sex toy company. Said client purchased a butt plug that was advertised as 100% silicone. Client wears butt plug to MRI appointment. Much to client's dismay, butt plug in fact has a metallic core. Butt plug is accelerated at the speed of sound into the client's chest cavity, described in a memo as an anal railgun. The client survived with major injuries. No shit.
Wow.
Now,
I mean,
here's the thing. Here's the part where this is the reason why I thought maybe this is fake. Okay. I didn't go to school. I'm not an engineer. I don't know physics that well, but I'm going to hazard a guess. If you have a butt plug in your asshole and it gets launched at the speed of sound through your body,
I think that part
was
was it just a little like
how is that not going to just go right up your gut and out the fucking top of your head?
I think the speed of sound and railgun thing is like if it's real, it's the law firm trying to oversell the intensity.
Yeah.
I'm also
Of-
surprised that it didn't that it went up in and through, because like the MRI machine, if
Well, it depends
I'm
on where
not
the
mistaken,
magnetic force is coming
could
That's
from.
it
right.
not, yeah, could it? Okay,
That's right. And then the other thing I thought, because I just watched this really fascinating video from Veritasium about magnets. When
How
you
do they work?
When you watch like
Magic,
super
dude.
strong magnets work, they make things move
I
in
saw
a
that
way
one.
that is very unfamiliar to.
Is that the one where he goes
physics.
to the place and they've got like the hole
Yes.
and that's like
Yeah.
the crazy magnet is like way down in that hole.
So when I looked at the photo, I was like, oh, then maybe
Not unlike a butt.
maybe it shot through the ass and like fucking like plastered down against the back of the person's body, and you know they had to like sort of peel that person out of the MRI. I don't know how it works.
Well, no,
like
they
it
just
pinned
turn-
him to it.
No, they
Yeah,
just
yeah.
turn the MRI off and then the magnetic
Well,
force
right.
would go away.
Right? Yeah, I guess they would turn it off.
I mean, I at first when you said the lawsuit thing, I was like, "Come on, dude! This is obviously your fault. You wore a butt plug to a fucking MRI." But also, probably no laws against wearing a butt plug to an MRI, although incredibly dumb and fucking stupid.
it's like
if
I
you-
get it.
Like you get the butt plug, you
I
get
get
wearing
it.
the butt plug,
Wearing a butt plug around, not that I've done it,
but you've like
but if I was into that,
you heard from a
why would like
friend.
if I was into that
if like it like in another world,
in
if
another
that's something that
world,
you
if I
were-
was really into butt plugs,
yeah, right.
I can totally see how it would be awesome to like right now sitting doing this podcast. It's like
You could see how it would be great to be wearing a butt
it
plug.
feels really great to sit here and drink coffee and feel the effects of coffee while we're recording.
Right.
I
So
could
just
imagine it would also feel really great to just be sitting here recording with a butt plug in my butt, being like,
Right.
man, I feel great
Yeah.
having this thing rammed up my butt.
You
I
could
have a-
see how that could be.
Right.
I
But then like to do the MRI, it's like there's a time and a place, you know?
There's a time and a place.
I have a solution, guys. A glass butt plug.
Well, this is where the where the lawsuit comes in. The
Ooh.
person thought that it was a non-metallic, fully silicone.
Right, but you
butt
can't
plug,
be
and
sure
that's the
with
lawsuit.
a silicone one because
We got to
you
buy
can't see
two. We
through
got to
it,
buy two, and you
right?
got to
So-
dissect one to make sure.
But if you just
yeah.
get a glass one, then you know because you can see through it, so you know
Yeah.
you can be sure that it is what it is.
This
Also-
sounds
also what-
like a hindsight's 2020 kind of solution, Brian.
Yeah. But also, like, what did the person expect? You're getting an MRI. Like, was the kink
That they would see the butt plug,
right? Was the kink like I want them to see it?
And like, I wonder if they'll say.
I wonder if they'll say anything. Yeah,
That's
I get that
definitely
too.
it.
That's kind of hot.
Yeah. I get what it would be like to have those.
You know what?
feelings.
Actually, if you think about it, what other scenarios are there in your life where you could discreetly wear a butt plug, but then also have somebody realize that you're wearing a butt plug?
Church,
A $1 million
Catholic Church,
$1 million on the line chess tournament.
The Vatican.
That's true. Both of those are good answers.
But
But it's funny because that could be a good like
Yeah.
if that was your kink, this would be the place to exploit that.
yep. But unfortunately, that is what happened.
What do you
So-
what do you guys actually think that would feel like though to have a butt plug travel like a rail gun?
But it would probably feel very
Inside
similar to
you.
what it's like to have a horse shove its cock up your ass and go way too far.
It'd feel like getting shot with a shotgun
And that
Let's
shotgun
move
is a
on.
horse's cock.
from inside your butt.
Yeah,
move
and
on.
that shotgun's a horse's dick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everybody knows about Mr. Hands.
Let's move on. I've got a couple stories in here today that have to do with pee.
I gotta pee, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. So
I have to pee super badly.
well, this is gonna make you have to pee more.
I meant like I'm going
Yeah.
to pee.
Well, here before you go pee, let me in the very least give you the gist of the headline here, so you know what we're talking about when we get back. Have either of you guys had kidney stones in your life?
No.
Thank God.
Me neither. Thank God.
I think that's like a diet thing.
My dad
Well,
did, and he told me that
I
it
could be
fucking
wrong
sucked.
about that.
I love that you said that. For the most part, technically, it sort of is.
But like it could occur
And
randomly.
from what we've known over the history of the like the disorder or the disease, kidney stones are mostly considered a disease of the middle-aged man.
Mhm.
There's now an increasingly doctors are now increasingly seeing a different kind of patient suffering from the extremely painful condition, especially during the summer months, which are children and teens, and in particular, girls.
I know exactly what it's from. Oh,
Not drinking water.
Interesting. Well, we're about to find out, but you go pee, and I'll
Okay.
tell Brian, and then you'll have to figure it out after. Kidney stones are, if you're not familiar, are hard deposits of minerals and salts that can get caught in the urinary tract. And they're now occurring in younger people, particularly among teenage girls, emerging data shows. Experts aren't sure why more children and teens are developing the condition, but
I'm sure.
they speculate that a combination of factors are to blame, including, and before I say these, let me get your take.
Well, so
There's three.
in-
There's
in
three causes that they're going.
in
It's
younger
probably this.
adolescent girls, it's social media, and in boys, it's video games. And these are the reasons why I believe that to be true.
Violent video games
No,
and
no,
TikTok.
No, but it's because have you ever been like in a death scroll on like TikTok or Instagram?
Threads.
And-
Actually, I was just on a death scroll of threads.
So you know how like you can just be scrolling and like dopamine, and
Yeah.
and you just don't stop.
Yeah.
And during that time, how much water do you drink?
None.
Right. And
Yeah.
so I think that like when kids were younger, back in the day, I think that they spent more time outside running around, which then made them thirsty, which then made them drink more.
Ooh.
And I think it's because they're dehydrated.
Okay. So to catch you up, Taylor, Brian, I haven't said the reason why we're thinking that a lot of kids are now experiencing kidney stones. There we don't know for sure, but there are
TikTok
there-
challenge.
There is speculation. There is speculation as to what it could be. Brian seems to think yes, it has to do with TikTok,
Social media and video games.
Okay.
Basically, what he said while you're out was that violent video games are just causing our kidneys to just like freak
Yeah.
the fuck out and cause stones. And then, and in terms of teenage girls, they're spending too much time on TikTok, not drinking enough water, and therefore are building up a bunch of mineralized fucking
Deposits in
stones,
their
deposits.
kidneys.
What do you think the reasons could be? There's three factors that they think this could be.
And it's and girls are more prevalent apparently.
Interesting. Birth control.
It's a good guess. So what they're
Not as good as mine.
the factors to blame they think include diets high in ultra processed foods,
Hmm.
increased use of antibiotics early in life,
Interesting.
and climate change.
Hmm.
Is that like climate change is in it's hotter and it's accelerating dehydration?
That's right. Kidney stones is a metabolic disorder, also known as nephrolithiasis.
Nephrolosis?
Nephrolithiasis.
Having sex with dead people?
Necrophilia, which that occurs when minerals such as calcium, oxalate, and phosphorus accumulate in urine and form these yellowish crystals as small as a grain of sand and sometimes as large as a golf ball. Ew.
I think I'm right.
Some stones make their way out of the urinary tract with no issue, but others get stuck, blocking flow of urine and causing severe pain and bleeding. In recent years, hospitals across the country have opened pediatric stone clinics to keep up with the demand, where children can meet with urologists, nephrologists, and nutritionists to get the care that they need to treat and prevent future kidney stones. Kidney stones in adults are linked to conditions such as metabolic syndrome, obesity, hypertension, diabetes. Quote, in children, we're not seeing that, said Dr. Gregory Tazian, a pediatric urologist at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. He said, quote, they're otherwise healthy and simply come in with their first kidney stone for unclear reasons. Much of the nephrolithiasis research in children in the U.S. has been led by Tazian and his colleagues and is focused on finding the cause. Clearly, quote, clearly something has changed in our environment that is causing the rapid shift, he says.
Too much Prime.
About, yeah. About
Too much Amazon Prime?
No. The Logan Prime. About 10% of the people in the U.S. will have a kidney stone at some point in their lives, according to the National Kidney Foundation.
Hold on. What is Prime? I've seen this. Is it a drink?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like an energy.
Logan
it's like,
Paul and
it's Logan Paul's
KSI's
Gatorade.
energy drink.
Yeah.
Of course.
which it has BCAAs. So don't let your kids drink it because I guess BCAAs aren't great for children.
Oh, Logan Paul is just a
Same.
net negative, eh?
Yeah.
So experts believe that kids worsen. So the three that I said, which was ultra processed foods, antibiotics, and dehydration. So diet. All right. So experts believe kids' worsening diets may play a role. High amounts of sodium from potato chips, sandwich meats, sports drinks, Prime, and packaged meals can force extra minerals into the urine that clump up into kidney stones. It's especially likely if a child doesn't drink enough water or drinks too many sweet beverages, Prime, high in fructose corn syrup.
And
It's like trying to dissolve sugar into a nearly empty cup of coffee.
I feel personally attacked by all
I
of
gotta
those
tell
things.
you, I gotta tell you guys right now. I know that we're all. I mean, well, I don't actually necessarily notice you guys drinking much water like overtly. I don't like notice it. I don't notice you not drinking. I don't notice you drinking. You probably don't with me either. But like,
You drink a lot of water. I notice it.
okay,
I don't drink that much, and I don't think Jared drinks that much, even though maybe he tries sometimes.
I mean, guys, do you see the amount of fucking? You open that recycling bin. There's probably 80 cans of fucking bubbly in there.
Right. Okay. Yes. So yes.
I do drink water, but I like
water.
literally almost exclusively carbonated water.
Okay. So
I drink exclusively coffee.
Okay. So
There's water in coffee.
There's water in
Yeah.
coffee. Better than not drinking water at all. So
right.
you need to drink more water.
Definitely.
I think the jury is relatively in on carbonated water being,
Fine.
just as
I think
hydrating.
they're still
Just as hydrating.
It's
as
just bad
regular
for your
water.
enamel if you're drinking too much like lime
Right.
flavored stuff.
So when I was a kid, I started drinking a shitload of water when I was about 14 years old, and it had to do with sports. Like something clicked where somebody was like, "You got to be drinking a bunch of water," and so I started carrying around a Nalgene bottle and drinking like a few liters a day. But up until that point of like being 14, never had a glass of water ever.
It's so boring.
How did we how do you survive? How do you become a person without drinking water? I don't understand. I did it. I'm sure we all probably didn't drink nearly enough water as kids.
Probably spent a lot of time in the shower and then just
Just
Yeah.
osmosis.
With your mouth open,
yeah.
throat open. Yeah.
Like drinking gray water.
yeah.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
the
Well,
fuck?
Yeah, good question. I don't know.
yeah, me neither. I don't know what this is. Oh, right. This. So yeah, right. So. Well, I'll get to this. Okay. So good question. Don't know. Hot summers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Climate change. I
Getting
think
hotter.
we just saw like here in Canada, last week. I think was like the hottest couple days
Globally.
Yeah, globally, I guess. So the more hot and humid it is, the more you sweat and less you urinate, allowing minerals in the to bond in the kidneys and your urinary tract. Children are especially vulnerable to heat. Dr. Christina Carpenter, interim chief of pediatric urology at the New York Presbyterian Morgan Stanley's Children's Hospital, just shorten the name, said that she has already been treating more children with kidney stones in the summer. And studies found that the number of people seeking medical care for kidney stones increases as daily mean temperatures rise. Other research shows that the southeastern U.S., known as the kidney stone belt, has a as much as 50% higher prevalence of kidney disease than the Northwest.
I mean, it makes sense if you think
Ooh.
about like, I mean, especially I know you have your building, great amenities, top-notch amenities, including one of which is a hot tub. You spend time in a hot tub, you got to be drinking water.
Yeah.
That shit
really?
will. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you
Dude,
sweat. You sweat like a motherfucker in a hot
You just
tub.
don't really.
don't feel
You
the
just don't
sweat.
really notice it because
Yeah.
you're underwater. But like you're like raising your body temperature. You're just like you're getting rid of sweat and
Are there other benefits to it? You know, like
yeah. On your way to becoming hydrated, there's a moment where you're at peak physical health.
Now, antibiotics may alter the gut microbiome in a way that favors kidney stone development. This is really interesting. I never knew this. So in 2018, Tazian's team found that people who took any of 5 commonly prescribed oral antibiotics were associated with a 1.3 to 2.3 fold increase in the odds of developing kidney stones. The risk decreased over time, but remained high for up to 5 years after taking the medication. Now that blows my mind because I have taken
Lots.
I almost guarantee you I've taken more antibiotics than anybody you know personally. I almost
Yeah, yeah.
assuredly.
100%.
I mean, I take azithromycin every day,
but your
but
salt,
I've never had a single kidney stone in my life.
You're
but your salt
chronically
come-
on azithromycin.
Yep.
But
Like
your
a
s-
low dose or like a. I mean, do you have any idea? I guess you would probably.
I mean,
might
just
not
like
even know.
one pill of azithromycin.
Jared, for
like,
you-
like for example, if you got, it's either gonorrhea, chlamydia, whatever the STI that they treat it with, they give you a much higher dose
Yeah, yeah,
than what I take
Right.
daily.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
still, I take it every single day.
totally. Yeah.
but
crazy.
for
I
you
should be taking it every
because
single day.
because
I don't.
you have
Sorry.
like salty skin. Does that mean that your salt comes out of your like skin of your pores in a way that it doesn't like
That's a good
that
question.
it doesn't
what's
just
the
Right,
question?
right.
So,
does,
like-
does the increased salt that I release prevent me from getting kidney stones?
like depositing in your kidneys?
right.
Instead?
I wonder.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
I'm not sure that's
probably,
how the body works, but
Yeah, I don't know either.
yeah.
But
I
a
mean-
good
Well,
question
yeah.
for
I mean, like you have a finite sodium
yeah.
level, and if it's and like you need more salt in your food, or at least you did. I don't know if you still do.
that's
you
why
do
I mean.
Trikafta,
That's
but-
why I'm drinking this. I should have said this whole episode is brought to you by G0, and Prime's bad. We got you, Gatorade. Don't worry. But yeah, I drink this shit for the electrolyte reuptake. Like, I mean, I like because I go to the gym.
You sweat.
I sweat. I fucking. I mean, I sweat.
You
Not
got-
even going to the
You
gym.
got mad post sweat.
I sweat
You
forever.
know why
Yeah,
though?
you do.
Jared goes in the hot tub before and he's sweating before he even starts the
It's true.
workout,
It's
and
true.
then he's just
Just doesn't
fucking
stop.
boiling the
Yeah.
entire time and it doesn't
Jared
stop.
comes in here and he glistens for about 2.5 hours.
I'm
Yeah.
glistening right now. So I'll throw this out there for anybody who has young kids, particularly teenage girls, and they're kind of curious, but symptoms of kidney stones. According to the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Disease, symptoms include sharp pains around the back, lower abdomen, and groin, pink, brown, or red blood in the urine, a constant need to urinate, cloudy or foul-smelling urine, irritability, especially in younger children. So keep an eye out for that. and make sure your kids are drinking water.
There you go.
Let's move on to more piss, shall we? Oh, actually, I did have this. So how cool would it be if, like, because getting kidney stones removed,
It's like a video game.
ooh, it is. I mean, I don't know, but from what I hear,
Don't they
it's
try
not
to,
fun.
Don't they try to
They
blast
laser
them?
Yeah, they laser them out of you.
Don't they use like isn't there a joystick and a game controller and
Something like that.
they target them and then
They laser them and they try to blast them into passable
yeah.
chunks.
But even though they do that,
Yeah.
apparently the passable chunks
Oh, I'm sure.
are still
Ideally,
painful
no
as fuck.
chunk. Ideally, no chunks.
It would be great if
You're looking for no chunk piss.
yeah. Do you guys remember that scene in the Avengers when Thanos was like talking to his kidney stones?
With all 6 stones, I could simply snap my fingers. They would all cease to exist. I call that mercy.
Which is mercy. I mean, like to snap your fingers and have your kidney stones disappear, all 6 of them.
I love that.
That's
I love that I love that you had this piece of information, this article, and then you were like, oh, I remember that line in the Avengers
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
vaguely resembles
Yeah.
what I would want to be able to do if I had kidney stones.
Yeah. Let's move on to this story about pee. Doctor, okay, let me ask you guys this. This is if you guys think this episode's silly, wait till next week.
I feel like we're on it. I feel like we're really on it today. I feel
Next
like,
week
we're on a good
silly.
tear today.
What are your guys' thoughts on pissing in the shower?
Yeah.
Do it regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Me too. What are you guys' thoughts on peeing on your partner in the shower and not telling them?
No, don't
Sarah,
do that.
I already know that you're like, this is an odd kink that you have.
I don't. I was just
It's
curious.
funny how you brag about
just-
it though when
I-
you come in the morning and you're like, guys, guess what I just did?
Just
You're like, Kira didn't even notice. I was just peeing all over her feet and legs.
Yeah. So apparently doctors are issuing a warning against peeing in the shower.
doctors?
Yeah.
Like on people or
I think,
just in general?
just in general. Yeah. Don't pee on people unless they ask for it. Or unless you can get away with it. So doctors issue warning against peeing in the shower. This is actually interesting. When I first read this, I went, oh, fuck off. And then I started thinking about it. I went, well, I guess actually like this, it sort of makes sense. Whether it's about saving water or just being a bit lazy, there's no doubt that a ton of people use the shower as a perfect opportunity to have a cheeky little pee. And while it may seem all fine and dandy, there are a number of reasons why you actually should probably stop doing it.
I literally do it every single time
So do
I shower.
Yeah.
I would say 80%.
Urogynecologist, Dr. Teresa Irwin. I've never heard of it as a urogynecologist. What's the
just-
difference between that and a gynecologist?
It's just like a urology mixed with gynecology.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Urogynecology is a surgical subspecialty of urology and gynecology. Interesting. So what sets a urogynecologist apart from a gynecologist?
Possibly somebody that specifically is looking at like, urology from the perspective of female anatomy.
Yeah, so urogynecology, a specialized field of gynecology and obstetrics that deals with female pelvic medicine and reconstructive surgery. Urogynecologists are doctors who diagnose and treat pelvic floor conditions such as weak bladder or pelvic organ prolapse. Very interesting. So it's the urogynecologists that are speaking out about this. And one particular one, Dr. Teresa Irwin, took to TikTok to warn her followers about the habit, saying, you need to stop peeing in the shower. Quote, you don't want to do it all the time because what happens is every time you hear the sound of water, your bladder is going to want to pee because it's used to hearing the sound of water in the shower. It's kind of like a Pavlovian dog type thing.
That's bullshit.
Okay, that's what I thought. So
Yeah.
so whenever you're washing your hands, washing the dishes, your bladder's going to be salivating, so to speak, because it wants to go and pee. Pelvic floor therapist Dr. Alicia Jeffrey Thomas echoed this in her own video, highlighting that the habit can have other big consequences down the line.
Here
So
we go. We just nailed it in her video on a platform where she's trying to get followers.
Yeah.
Perhaps. perhaps, but
And
let's.
create kidney stones
I mean,
in
I,
kids.
I would like to reach out to our friend Stephanie, who is a pelvic floor physio, and get her thoughts on this, because here's where they go with this. Pelvic floor therapist, Dr. Alicia Jeffrey Thomas, echoed the same thing, explaining why we shouldn't pee in the shower. She said, quote, if you pee in the shower or turn on the faucet or turn on the shower and then sit on the toilet and pee while the water's running, which I think we've all, like, I do that.
I don't
like
do that.
I understand. Like, it's a well known thing that like the sound of water brings about the desired pee, or
But-
can bring about.
But
the
I've
desired
always heard that, but I've never felt that to be true. And I pee in the shower all the time.
I've used it a number of times in positions where it's hard for me to pee. Not that this was me, but like, you know, just thinking off the top of my head of something that like had nothing to do with me, but like say I don't know, like some random person out there one time took like MDMA, you know, illegally. I don't know who would do that, but like say you're doing MDMA and then you go to pee, and I'm guessing maybe with MDMA, like when you take it, maybe it makes it harder to pee. I don't know. But my guess would be that if you turn on the tap a little bit and you hear that, that it helps you pee.
I could see how in that situation, if somebody had did that,
Yeah.
that might be something that they might do to help with that.
Now,
But
if I
still
was in
for
that
me, it doesn't
situation,
work.
I would do that and it would work.
For me, it wouldn't.
Right. This smells of I've run out of content, and I am trying to make a square peg fit in a round
Okay,
hole.
well now let's come back to the thing that I want to run by Stephanie. Combo that sort of Pavlovian dog response, hearing water, the sound of water, the feel of water making you pee. Combo that with pelvic floor dysfunction, either now or down the line, which for people with vulvas, people with uteruses, I think is quite common, especially after giving birth or something, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, super common.
When you combo that with pelvic floor dysfunction, it's going to potentially lead to some leak issues when you hear running water outside the shower. So let's say that this
Yeah,
is the case.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
You're
okay.
out, you know, it's the middle of the day, you've got your kiddos and you go to, and you're in Las Vegas and you go and you're like, let's go to the Caesar's Palace, and you see the big fountain there, and they're doing the water show and it's spraying the water, and you see that water spray and you hear it, and then all of
Hold
a
on,
sudden
I gotta
you
go
piss
pee.
and you leak. Yeah, right. I mean, that would be an issue, right?
Yeah,
I
I
could
mean,
s-
I,
yeah.
as somebody who has a partner who has dealt with post-pregnancy issues in this realm, and you know, pelvic floor strength, and you know, having is it called incontinence?
Yeah. Incompetence.
I could see how it's like every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Because it's a fucking problem, and it's hard to, and it can take a long time to get better if it ever does. Some people deal with it forever. But yeah, I feel like it's like a drop in the bucket.
I could see how if you believed in that and subscribed to it, how maybe it could help. But to me, you know, like I think of all of the other times I run water while I'm not peeing, and how it's forgive my pun, but it's just a drop in the bucket of like how often you're hearing the sound of water and when you're actually peeing.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. I don't buy this.
I must
at
have had
all.
a Pavlovian response to you, because I just said drop in the bucket, and then you said it right after me.
Maddie is like, she wants to be a pelvic floor physiotherapist, and you know, I pee in the shower all the time, and she knows that, and she's never said to me like, hey, you shouldn't do that.
Hey, stop peeing
Maybe
on
she
me.
That
just-
doesn't mean
whatever.
that's
maybe
not
they just
true.
didn't
Yeah.
cover that course material yet.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess
Jury's out.
jury's in.
Okay.
So let's wrap this up. I want to wrap this up by saying a big shout out to a brand new listener who sent an email in to us, and I want to read us pretty much the entire email. They gave us some constructive feedback, which I was really appreciative of.
Okay.
I didn't. They said I could read the email, but I didn't specifically ask if I could say their name, so I'll just leave their name out just in case.
Sure.
But the person who's listening will know who you are. They said, "Hi, Brian, Jeremy, Taylor, and team." I guess that's you, don't it? A friend of mine recently shared your podcast with me, and this episode in particular. So the episode in question here is the episode that we did a few that came out maybe about a month ago, 2 months ago, and it was about asexuality.
Mhm.
We spoke with Alexandria, who is asexual themselves and is a researcher in that field. So they said, a friend of mine shared your podcast with me and this episode in particular, as I identify as an aromantic asexual. Arrow Ace, lesbian. I also have depression and anxiety, and I live with a chronic illness called POTS. So I can't wait to check out more of your episodes. That's great. Thanks. Back to the acing relationships episode. Though, I both wanted to say thank you for exploring the topic of asexuality on your podcast and also offer some constructive feedback if that's something you're up to. If you're open to. As I'm sure you realize by now, asexuality and aromanticism and the spectrum of orientations that fall under these umbrella labels are not commonly well-known topics, so it's truly appreciated whenever someone makes an effort to learn about them or provide a platform for education. So there's so much great information discussed in the episode throughout your conversation with Alexandria. But there is also one aspect that I wanted to bring to your attention in the hopes that you'll consider addressing it in a future episode.
Really great sandwiched feedback, by the way.
100%.
Start with the positive,
Exactly.
give the constructive feedback.
Yep.
I'm going to wait for the end with the positive too, but let's see.
Yep.
A common mistake made in discussions around asexual/aromantic spectrum orientations is conflating one's sexual orientation with one's personal feelings about sex, which can then also be conflated with cultural attitudes towards sex in general. A great way to break it down simply is that orientation equals attraction, while feelings about sex equal action. Here's a quick overview that will hopefully make this make more sense. Sexual orientation, who someone is sexually attracted to. As an orientation, asexuals don't experience the sexual attraction to anyone of any gender, but asexuality is also an umbrella term for a number of other more nuanced labels and experiences, including demisexuality, gray asexuality, etc. Personal feelings about having sex, sex favorable, sex indifferent, sex repulsed. This is someone's personal feelings about engaging in sex themselves. And these feelings are not necessarily correlated with a specific sexual orientation. Cultural attitudes towards sex, so sex positive, sex neutral, sex negative, these are attitudes towards sex on a broader cultural or societal level. You can learn more about the differences between these three topics on the AVEN website. All that to say, in listening to your conversation with Alexandria, I felt like asexuality was often being conflated with a person's personal feelings about engaging in sex. And this can be a harmful misconception. Some asexual people engage in sex, others don't. And some are okay with some sexual activities or acts and not others. But it is a nuanced topic, like most things, that will largely vary person to person. However, the categories above can be helpful for breaking it down more broadly in an attempt to better capture some of these different feelings and experiences, even if we will never capture 100% of everyone's unique experience.
I think I kind of get this, and maybe I can use an analogy to see if I better understand this. But it would be sort of like, somebody who was born not liking sports, and maybe not liking is not the right word, but with no with a lack of desire to play sports, but because of like cultural or societal norms, or because their choice of wanting to take part and have the experience of playing sports, they may play sports anyway, but they don't have the necessarily the desire to do so. So like in the example that was given, the attraction is like born without the attraction under the asexuality spectrum. However, they may choose to take part in sex or maybe sex repulsed, but those two things are different, and it's important to distinguish between that.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's it.
I think so.
Yeah. So just to continue here, the reason I wanted to bring this to your attention is because I believe it is important to speak to these nuances as they impact the general perception of asexuality and what it means for someone who is asexual to date or be in relationships. I've learned that sex is an important part of an intimate relationship for most allosexual folks. Allosexual would be like us, in a term that simply means the opposite of asexual, or meaning meaning those who do experience sexual attraction. And I wouldn't want the misconception that asexual folks do not have sex to influence someone's decision to date or not date an asexual person without knowing that person's personal feelings on engaging in sex and having the types of conversations you would with anyone you are getting to know in the context of dating or beginning a new relationship.
So based on like the recent conversation that we had, to use the sports analogy, like the absence of desire to play sports, but they may still be a person who plays sports. And so if you're making your decision, if you want them on your team, to play your sports ball game, then you have to realize that just because they were born with the absence of desire to play sports, maybe they still want to play on your team.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean,
Sorry, what's sports ball?
Sports ball, you know what sports ball is.
For people that aren't aware, this past Wednesday, we released an episode with a person from France named Elaine, and they have a podcast called Free from Desire, and they are asexual. They live in Paris, and I wanted to talk about this particular thing within that episode. And I feel like we did a good job of covering it. But again, all these things are nuanced, and we're just learning. We're just figuring it out as we go. So maybe we didn't really quite touch it the way that we could have. But I did feel like coming out of that conversation with Elaine that I had a much more like solid grasp on asexuality. And the part that I really appreciated about that conversation with Elaine was touching on the like the way that society might want to look at reworking the ways we approach the conversation surrounding like consent and intimacy with a new partner. And so, you know, if in that episode with Alexandria, we accidentally framed it in a way that made it sound as though, oh, if you're asexual, then I guess like you would never really be able to have a meaningful relationship with someone who's allosexual. Even though I don't think that was what we were intending to do. I think that conversation with Elaine really helped me kind of formulate my thoughts and feelings around, well, what can that look like between someone who's asexual and someone who's not? And those conversations about intimacy, like how can you have those conversations? How can you reframe the way that you approach intimacy in that kind of setup? And so, yeah, I just feel really grateful that Elaine was willing to come on the show and help us kind of navigate further into the conversation surrounding asexuality. Because again, and I think I said this in that episode, asexuality is a sexual orientation that just does not get the coverage or have the general understanding that something like, you know, someone who identifies as gay or lesbian does, or bisexual or what have you, right? Anyway, yeah. So to the person who wrote this email, again, I don't want to like just out your name. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Really love the feedback. And with that, go check out that episode that came out earlier this week. Great conversation. We really loved it. We've got some amazing conversations in the pipeline coming up in the next few weeks, and can't wait for you to hear them. In the meantime, if you want to support the podcast, you can leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or leave a rating on the Spotify mobile app. And for more episode discussions, come on over to our Discord. There's always chats happening in the Discord channels there, and we'd love to have you be a part of our little budding community. And thanks everybody who continues to join our Discord and contribute to those episode discussions.
And if you want to be a guest on the show or to recommend somebody to be on the show, then go over to our website, sickboypodcast.com, click on the nice button there, and fill out the application form.
And thanks as always to the folks who helped make this show possible. Jeff Lonis, thank you so much. And Rich O'Coin, your music is amazing and we love you.
That is it for this week.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jeremy, and this is Sick Boy.